you ever just stop your usual routine and look around and just feel exhausted? Not just tired from notifications or work, but like the world itself is off somehow. Like we've built all this technology, all these systems, but it still feels like we're monkeys. Monkeys that just stopped evolving while everything around us keeps evolving at accelerated speeds. And somehow we're still living in the same chaos our ancestors did, maybe just with brighter screens. So that's kind of where I'm at today. That's where I want to start. I think we're living reruns of history. And obviously, I don't think I'm the only one that thinks that. Most of us don't even notice. We kind of just recycle the same mistakes over and over again, worship the same illusions, and then we call it progress. We think we're the first generation to wake up. And maybe that's the cruel joke of it all. Every generation feels awake. But the cave? It hasn't changed. I am really passionate about Plato's philosophy, and not as an academic exercise, more as in I read him like a warning, like a roadmap, like someone who saw most of what we're dealing with today coming. Plato said,
Most people live in a cave. They're chained, staring at shadows on a wall. They think that's reality, but it's not. Those shadows are just projections of a fire behind them, illusions, lies, comforting lies.
I thought about that a lot, and then I kind of realized the cave, it isn't made of stone anymore. It's made of notifications, feeds, algorithms that follow us around and tell us what to think, who to fear, what to buy, and even who to love. The shadows are sharper, faster, more convincing, but at the end of the day, they're still shadows. And the craziest part, most people love the shadows. They defend them even. They decorate them. They live inside them happily. And I get it. The real light is uncomfortable, and it's also very scary.
Eventually, someone looks back, someone climbs out, and when they do, they see the sun. Seeing the sun represents the mind's ultimate understanding of the form of the good. Just as the sun makes the visible world and our eyes functional, the form of the good is the source of all reality, truth, and intelligibility, making all other ideas and knowledge comprehensible to them.
Plato's interpretation, very fascinating. My own interpretation from a spiritual perspective would be that the sun is a metaphorical for understanding the unseen world, a state of being where the individual is aligned with past, present, and future. How this would translate in daily life: individual understands the concept of love and how it exists. Individual does not act out of emotion, but out of wisdom. Individual understands that good and evil are two sides of the same coin. Individual understands all consciousness comes from one source. Individual understands that all consciousness has free will to choose. However, harmony is the ultimate goal. Individual understands how physical science correlates with spirituality. Let me know in the comments down below what climbing out of the cave and seeing the sun means to you specifically. Plato wasn't just writing a story about shadows. He was diagnosing a civilization. He believed that a just society could only exist when the human soul itself is balanced.
Mind, spirit, and will, reason, courage, and desire, all working together in harmony.
And when we look at the ancient city of Athens, he saw a mess. Leaders who chased wealth over wisdom, citizens who worshipped spectacle instead of truth, a city that reflected the fractured soul of its own people. Sound familiar? Because that's us. Our leaders are also often picked for charisma, not for clarity. They are trained in optics, messaging, PR, not philosophy, not ethics, not love or self-mastery. And our education system, it doesn't shape souls. It shapes resumes. It measures success by test scores and job placements, not by wisdom, not by courage or moral clarity. And the worst part, most of us don't even notice. We kind of just scroll past the shadows and feel like we're already awake. So here's what I keep coming back to. Plato said the city is just a reflection of the people inside of it. If our souls are divided, society will be divided too. And right now we are imbalanced. Think about it. Our minds are overstimulated. We know more than any generation before us, but that knowledge is just scattered across feeds, headlines, podcasts, and endless streams of opinions. If you just listen to your heart for 1 second, you will know it's exhausted. Empathy is commodified, used to sell and not to connect. And our will, our ability to act on what is true and good, distracted, fragmented, bought and sold by convenience, desire, and dopamine. A just society starts with just souls. And let's be honest, most of us are not even close to it. But that doesn't mean we can't get there. That just means that work is harder than we like to admit. Now, I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into what I think the soul really is. I personally believe the soul is a part of a three-part system. I call it the spirit body, the soul body, and eventually physical form. The spirit body would be the core divine template of identity, the timeless essence of the soul, an eternal field of pure consciousness that exists beyond the physical body. It is the original radiating essence of who we truly are, our true self before material form, our self that I believe every single individual, every single organism knows deep down subconsciously exists. And then we have the soul body, which I believe acts as the blueprint of personal consciousness, linking your physical body to higher levels of consciousness. I believe the soul contains the codes and memories that shapes our identity across lifetimes and even dimensionality. And then last but not least, physical form. I believe the physical body serves as a vehicle for consciousness, a vehicle that can only function within time and space, seeing only the 7 color spectrum. The fact that our bodies are limited is the whole point of the experience. I believe if we were to be in our pure spirit body form, we wouldn't be able to experience things on a deeper and fundamental level as we can within physical bodies. If I think about spirits, what I think about is phasing through things, being infinite light and being everywhere at once. And I can imagine that it gets boring. So why not create bodies, physical vehicles that experience life on a different level, let's say on a lower level? The physical body reflects the underlying soul and spirit body. Any distortions in the soul or spirit or both will reflect itself in the physical world as, I would say, imbalances, let's say cancer, disease, or even being born with a disability.
The soul is immortal. It existed before birth and survives after death. It is the source of life and motion, giving the body vitality. The soul seeks knowledge of the eternal forms, which it once knew before incarnation.
Plato divided the soul into 3 parts. The rational part, which is located at the head. Its functions are reasoning, thinking, and seeking the truth. The goal of the rational is to know what is real, good, and just, to govern the whole soul wisely. Its virtue is wisdom, the ability to discern what is truly best. The second part would be spirited. Its symbolical location would be the heart or the chest. Its functions are courage, honor, willpower, and righteous indignation. Its goal is to uphold moral conviction and support reason against base impulses. Its virtue is courage, the strength to stand by reason's guidance, even under pressure. And the third part would be appetite. Its symbolical location would be the belly or the lower body. Its functions are desiring food, pleasure, possessions, sex, and other bodily needs. Its goal is immediate gratification and material satisfaction. Its virtue, when guided properly, temperance, self-control, and moderation. Appetite is the driving force of physical survival, but it must be ruled by reason and supported by spirit to maintain harmony.
Justice does not lie in a man's external actions, but in the way he conducts the parts of his soul. It means that the three parts within him, the rational, the spirited, and the appetitive, each do their own work and do not meddle with one another. A man is just when the part that should rule, reason, rules, when the spirited part supports it, and when the appetites obey. In this way he brings order to himself, becomes his own friend, and from that harmony arises justice and goodness in life.
I think to strengthen the soul of a civilization, starting with your own soul is the first step. We need to keep it polished from what we perceive as negative. You can have a civilization with all the riches in the world, but if the soul of that civilization is stained, or let's say out of balance, society will just never be good. So what would it take to create a modern working civilization? A civilization that's at least closer, or let's say resemblances, Plato's vision. I think it starts with leaders, and not politicians, and not influencers. Leaders who've done the hardest work possible, governing themselves. People who have looked at their own shadows, wrestled with their own desires, and chosen courage over comfort. Plato calls these leaders philosopher-kings.
Until philosophers rule as kings in their cities, or those who are now called kings and leading men genuinely and adequately philosophize. That is, until political power and philosophy entirely coincide. While the many natures who at present pursue either one exclusively are compelled by necessity to stand aside, cities will have no rest from evils, nor, I think, will the human race. This, then, is the very root of the problem, that those who have the power to rule are not lovers of wisdom, and those who are lovers of wisdom do not wish to rule. Only when we unite these two, wisdom and authority, will justice dwell among us.
My interpretation of the philosopher-king from a spiritual perspective is someone who works 12 hours a day and he still doesn't lose heart, even though life feels like a daily imprisonment, even when there is barely any food on the table. I'm talking about the leader who, despite hardships, injustice, and trauma of the modern world, still finds a reason to smile every day, appreciating the smaller facts of existence, because I believe this leader understands something deeper, the true fundamentals of life. They know that manifesting desire is not about emotion or desperate escape. It's about presence, about knowing that wherever they stand, in struggle, in war, even in the face of death, that is exactly where they're supposed to be right now. This leader knows when to use wisdom and when to trust intuition, to rise out of dark situations. They know how to apply love, even in the presence of hate. They know how to channel power into goodness, and they do not fear death, because they understand that it's but transformation. And this leader knows that choices made out of fear creates nothing but chaos. So they choose courage, they choose love, and they choose truth, no matter the cost. And you might be thinking, what type of fictional character are you talking about? Talking about you. Now, I imagine a system that where before anyone holds office, they must undergo some form of reflective training, spiritual retreats, morality checks, service in communities outside of their comfort zone. And look, it's not to gatekeep, but to ensure that those that are making decisions for millions have wrestled with the questions of justice, truth, virtue themselves. Education needs the same revolution. Schools should be teaching more than just calculate and memorizing. They should teach how to think, how to feel, how to act, shaping the mind, the heart, and also will. And honestly, it shouldn't stop at 18 years old. Lifelong, what I call spirit education, reflective practices, mentorships from people that have already walked through their own shadows. And then you have law. Oh, the law. Laws need to do more than punish. They should cultivate the soul. We need digital transparency rules, ethics for AI, and spiritual programs that encourage reflection and community service. Imagine policies where media literacy is a spiritual right, where citizens are trained to question what they consume and not just accept it, where technology serves truth instead of attention. Even small changes could make ripples. Paid leave from all the digital noise, maybe yearly. Leadership training funded publicly. Incentives for corporations that act responsibly rather than just profit driven. A balance of carrot and stick, yes, but always oriented towards virtue. But here's the thing, Plato was clear.
The city mirrors the soul. You can't fix the world without fixing yourself.
I'll admit it, that is terrifying, because if you look at yourself honestly, you see all the corners that you've ignored, all the shadows you've loved. I have to ask myself every day, am I brave enough to act on what I know is right? Am I quiet enough to hear what I don't know? Am I disciplined enough to resist the easy comforts of the cave? Obviously, I don't have the answers all the time. I stumble, I fail, but that's part of the process. That is part of the work Plato demanded of anyone who wanted to be free. And I think it is the work that any of us must do if we want a better society. Because the truth is, you can't scroll your way into balance. You can't buy it. You cannot outsource it. You have to sit with your own mind, your own heart, your own will, and figure out how to bring them into harmony. And then you bring that love and light back into the world. Work on yourself. You already have infinite energy. Try to be the highest version of yourself in silence, and people will just gravitate towards you like electromagnetism. Imagine it, a civilization not guided by power and not by fear, not by viral trends, but led by wisdom. A city where leaders are chosen for their virtue, not their image. Where education shapes the soul and not just your wallet. Where technology serves humanity instead of the other way around. And look, I know it sounds impossible, and maybe it is, but Plato also didn't write the Republic thinking it would be easy. He wrote it because he thought it's necessary, and I believe it's from a caring perspective.
The heaviest penalty for declining to rule is to be ruled by someone inferior to yourself.
And right now, that's exactly what we're seeing. We've declined the responsibility of governing our own minds, and the world is paying the price. But I believe we can take it back. Small steps for sure. Reflections, conversations, experiments. We need civic and spiritual engagement that is not performative. Leadership that isn't selfish. Education that isn't transactional. Every person that takes the work seriously becomes a node of light in the cave. And with enough nodes, who knows, maybe the shadows start to fade. I don't have a grand conclusion, and hell, maybe there isn't one. Maybe the point is this: the cave isn't a prison, but it's a classroom, and the light isn't some prize waiting above, it's already within you. Justice begins with the choices you make when no one is watching. And wisdom begins in silence, in reflection, in wrestling with the truth you'd rather ignore. Civilization we want, it starts the same way. One reflective citizen at a time. One honest conversation at a time. One act of courage at a time. We'll stumble and we'll fall. We'll even go back into the shadows. But every time we climb out again, we see a little more. And maybe, just maybe, the world we build will finally start to reflect the people we are becoming. So I ask you, not as a philosopher or as a teacher, are you ready to see the shadows for what you are? Or maybe you already do. Are you ready to act, even when it's uncomfortable? Are you ready to lead yourself before you try to lead the world? The light isn't waiting, it's already here. And it starts with you. When do you trust someone the most? When do you share your deepest secret with another person? When could you drop yourself, fall backward with your eyes closed, knowing without a doubt that they'll catch you? When do all your bad emotions suddenly feel like they never existed in the first place? For me, the answer to all these questions is very simple. Love. And sure, you might say the answer is trust, but I don't think that trust alone can give you the same sense of safety, that deep knowing that everything will be okay. And perhaps that is because trust is a byproduct of love. I mean, think about it. When you pick up a stranger's dropped wallet and you're thinking of keeping it because you can see that there's money inside of it, let's say $500. Instead of keeping the money, you give it back to the stranger. And you're not doing it for gain or praise. You're doing it because something inside you cares. You just don't want that person to lose their day, their peace, or that beautiful smile you just got a glimpse of. Now, that is love, I would say, in its purest form, and also its most simplest form. And because it feels so simple for people, they might forget that it's so pure. And when the stranger thanks you, you just feel that warm, fuzzy energy in your chest or heart. A gentle pulse of joy, enough for the physical body to recognize it in time and space. A quiet confirmation from the universe. I personally would like to call that feeling a soul cookie. A soul cookie isn't something you earn or need. It's a gift passed from soul to soul. And unlike actual cookies, this one is gluten-free and never expires. Because you acted without expecting anything in return. No selfishness. No transaction. Just genuine connection. And look, if giving a soul cookie to a complete stranger isn't a form of love, then maybe love doesn't exist at all. Now, imagine this. What if we applied that same kind of love, pure and selfless, radiant love, to our governments, our communities, and our relationships? I am not just talking about loving your family or loving your friends. I'm talking about sharpening your core level of love, not just for your known people around you, but also for the people you don't know, for all the strangers. What if we could love each other on the same level you love your mom, or your sister, or maybe your child, or your girlfriend, or your boyfriend? Now, I'm not saying you should do everything you do with your girlfriend or your boyfriend with every stranger in the world. I'm just talking about that fundamental love that you can share with everyone else. I believe it's a choice, and I also believe a lot of you already have that love inside you. I certainly do. Every single time I step out of the door and I go into the real world, I will always act or have at least one act of love without needing anything in return. It's just something that's almost instinctual. If you can also relate with that, leave it in the comments down below. No one would need to look over their shoulder because everyone would understand that love isn't just a side effect of life. It's the source of life, a radiant energy of infinite bliss that can be tapped into at any time with anyone, anything, even this water bottle. Probably heard people loving the weirdest things. Now that to me is what I call pure love, the kind that moves quietly through the world, changing everything it touches. Even if the morrow is barren of promises, nothing shall forestall my return. As ripples form on the water's surface, the wandering soul knows no rest.